Hello and welcome to Morning May. My name's Kimber and this is my channel to take you guys along as I navigate this winding, twisting journey of navigating grief. 95 days ago, my 2-year-old daughter May died suddenly and unexpectedly of a freakishly rare cardiac tumor. So, this is me taking you guys along on how I am learning how to navigate through the entire process of carrying her forward in life and trying to give her some semblance, trying to honor her with some semblance of the life she would have lived if she had been given the chance. So I think yesterday we talked about like a couple of the books that helped me like in the early days of how to navigate grief. And I also talked a little bit about some of the things that didn't help. I touched on a little bit about like support systems and how important they were. And I know I made a lot of comments about how I'm not a super religious person, because I am not a super religious person. But I realized as I look back at the video, I was like, I don't want to come across like I think that like religious people are bad or something like that. I think that religion is not for me, but I also believe that life is hard. Most of life is not losing a child. That is a whole other echelon of hard and gut-wrenching and impossible. But all people have different types of living losses. Breakups. You have to move away from your friends when you're young or whatever. You lose a job, or you don't get a job that you really wanted, or you spend many years on a college degree only to find out you hate working in that field and you have to figure something else out. Like, there are a lot of living losses, right? And of course there's really deep and painful verifiable losses, like a death, whether that's a parent or a friend or a pet. All of those are losses and stuff too. And I know that religion helps a lot of people navigate through that. And it helps a lot of people make sense of the world. It helps a lot of people have something to cling to when the inevitable storms of life knock you down. And they will, right? So I don't begrudge people who find solace in their religion. I just know that it's not a fit for me in how to navigate the world. It doesn't really help me that much. So I wanted to get that out of the way, just let you know, like, I don't, hate religious people. That being said, we'll get into the meat and bones of today's TED Talk. So picking up from where we left off, so I talked about the 3 books yesterday. So now we're going to talk about like a couple of actionable steps that and I have my notes or whatever, that helped me in the early days, because the early days, for me at least, were a big doozy. It was a lot of, I have no idea. And it was a whole lot of outreach, because as I mentioned yesterday, I'm extremely privileged. I don't like to say lucky, because I'm not sure that I actually believe in luck. I think that at the end of the day, all of life is cyclical, right? When things are going well, if my daughter's death has taught me anything, you better enjoy those moments. You better take a gazillion pictures. She was 25 months and 14 days, and we had, between me and her father, we had something like 1,000 pictures of this little girl. That's more than a picture for every day that she was on this planet. So take lots of pictures, right? Because none of this is guaranteed. None of this is guaranteed. So that said, what you have to remember in life is that, or one of the things that I had to, one of the things that I heard that really resonated with me as I'm trying to forge through all of this and I'm trudging through this muck that is grief, was the realization and someone saying to me, you know, the same road that takes you uphill is also the same road that takes you downhill. So when things are wonderful, have a great time in it. When you're in that valley and everything is wonderful, enjoy it, because the only thing constant about life is that it's gonna change. Death and change are the constants in life. And I guess it depends on how you look at death. You know, you can look at death as transformation. One day I will get to that point. Am I there at day 95? Nope. Right now, death is really final and really awful. So with that said, when you're in the beginning, or at least for me, when I was in the beginning and I was staring at that daunting task, the overwhelming thought, once I got past the initial, I just want to die, the next thought was, wherever she is, if she happens to see me, I want her to be proud of me. I want to honor her. And in that vein, one of the things that really helped me was to continue doing some of the things that me and May always did together. So we always took a walk every day, sometimes several walks a day. She loved being outside. We're Southern people. We walk around barefoot, and she loved that. In the grass, climbing gates, trying to climb trees. We would walk to pick her brother up from school. We would walk to the farmer's market. We'd walk to the park. Sometimes, you know, if it was longer than maybe a quarter mile or something, we'd take the stroller, obviously, because she couldn't walk that far. But we would do that. And that was part of how I was able to stay in touch with her, if you will. Because I never broke that tradition of taking walks. Now, on these walks, did I walk and cry? Yep, absolutely. I would try to go early in the morning, mostly because the insomnia is overwhelming, and walking is free drugs. You know, if you move your body and whatever, you're going to give off endorphins. That's how that works. Those are free drugs. And I needed those. So it served it ticked a couple boxes for me, right? It was this activity that helped me to feel closer to my daughter. It was this thing that was gonna give me some feel good drugs. Certainly I didn't want any drug that was gonna make it more difficult for me to remember my daughter. A lot of people in my life suggested medication, anxiolytics, so anti-anxiety meds, antidepressants, all these things, and I didn't want any of those things. I didn't want anything that would have any influence on how well I was able to remember my daughter, because in those early days, the terror that you'll forget a memory is jaw-dropping. So I would definitely say, you know, make sure you're getting some type of exercise every day. And it doesn't have to be long, 10, 15 minutes, a walk around the block. Do it several times a day, anytime you need to re-up. I prefer to go in the morning because I could walk and cry, and usually people weren't up yet, and there weren't a lot of people on the road, and no one could really see me cry because I grew up in a family where crying was not encouraged. The people in my family get very uncomfortable around tears. And I think a lot of us grow up in families where they get uncomfortable around tears. So there was that. I would definitely say, if you have the opportunity and if you can, go outside. Walking on a treadmill in my garage was available to me because we have a treadmill in the garage. But it wasn't the same. It wasn't the same as touching grass, fresh air, going up and down hills, seeing butterflies. That nature component mattered. So if you have the opportunity, I'm going to say make sure you do something like that. it helped a lot. It helped a lot. My daughter absolutely loved to be outside. And I am the kind of parent that was acutely cognizant that you only get to do this stuff once. So if she wanted to play in the dirt and the mud and crawl around in the grass, I would get down and crawl around there with her. And it was always so cool because I got to see the world from the perspective that she was seeing the world. And I love that. Because the world looks real different when you're down on all fours crawling. And I loved being able to share that with her. So being out in nature was something that was so fundamental to how she interacted with the world. I love being able to go back to that place. And that is one way that I'm trying to learn how to remap my brain and my connection with her. It's not perfect. It's not the best. It is not my first choice. But death did not give me a choice. So I have to make the best of the options I have. So I have the option to sit in my house and hide. But that doesn't make me any closer to her. And if I'm thinking in terms of if she would be proud of me, when she was alive, she was always ready to go. So she wouldn't recognize a mother who was always in the house crying. I was never like that when she was alive. So it doesn't make any sense for me to be like that when she's dead. But does it take a gargantuan amount of energy to overcome the inertia? Oh yeah, it does. It's not gonna be easy. None of this is easy. This all sucks. But if you have to go with your second choice, then at least make it a choice that they would be proud of. Give them something cool to watch. Point out new things. Like, there is no law that says you can't talk to them. So when I'm on my walks, I point out things that maybe she didn't see before. Maybe I never noticed. I try to go on different walks. I try to sometimes walk routes that we had gone on before. I try to remember her in everything I do. I could not save her life. But at the very least, I can save her memory. Anyway, this video is almost 15 minutes long, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it for the day. I'll see you guys tomorrow.